Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, our beautiful country, and how we're going to fix everything together. The content that I'm going to show you right now is what we know so far in the horrible terrorist activity that just occurred in New Orleans. Now, this is one of those things that should never happen. I don't want any of these things to happen. But there's a few things that we have to point out while we're walking through the information that we're getting and the reaction from the very people who do a lot of other things in very different circumstances. You guys are going to figure out very quickly what I'm talking about. Everything is linked in the description box below already. I always bring the receipts so you guys can follow up and share this out. And make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Because this right here, guys, this is a thing. All right. So as you guys are getting in here, make sure our audio and video is good. Making sure we are awesome. All right, good. It looks like it is good to go. I'm going to jump straight into this, guys. And like I said, I do not like covering instances of tragedy. I don't like it at all. And of course, we're talking about the tragedy that happened in New Orleans over New Year's Eve. I want to walk you through a few of the things that we know, and I want to walk you through a few of the things that have to do with guns, a few of the things that we have to do with the reactions, and then also just some pretty low-hanging obvious fruit. All right, let me walk through this. Again, everything in the comments field, of course. Let's get in the chat. Just in, the person who's responsible for this in New Orleans, the suspect accused of plowing a truck through a crowd on Bourbon Street is named blah, blah, blah. I don't ever name the actual people. According to a law enforcement source, the source said he was carrying an ISIS flag in the truck. Okay, so I'm going off reporting that's going to be confirmed in a lot of different places, but if we've got ties to terrorism units, we might have a bit of a problem beyond the obvious. Let's keep going, though, because Kamala Harris is going to make an appearance. Biden's going to make an appearance. But before we do, I want to show you something that really stuck out to me. This is from CNN. Let me turn the audio up really quickly because they had hydraulic, basically vehicle blocks in place that just weren't turned on. Okay, now, again, this is going to get worse as we stack all this together, and it's in this order for a specific reason, but there were hydraulic steel barricades. They were installed in New Orleans in response to these types of attacks. A witness says they weren't raised last night. Let me show you this little clip from CNN.
We have these hydraulic steel barriers from past events. Last Mardi Gras, this happened to an extent, maybe not terrorism, but still people getting hit in mass population with vehicles. Those barricades were not up, period. They had the flimsy orange ones that you could just push over with your finger.
The barricades weren't up. Again, this is a very consistent theme that we see in a lot of these events, whether it's terrorism related or other tragedy related. A lot of the precautions and the things that are put in place to prevent things from happening like this just weren't deployed. Doors weren't shut. Security wasn't in place. Alarms weren't turned on. Like all of these different things that are based on human failure, not on the rights of a citizenry. Okay, again, I'm not going to make this too political, but I do really want to draw some pretty interesting comparisons from a day of this. Again, I'm trying not to get too political on it, but let's jump over to Vice President Kamala Harris. Again, listen to this and tell me if this sounds a little different than what she says over the last 4 years when there's instances around guns. Last night should have been a joyous celebration of the new year. Now that checks out. Instead, a horrific incident occurred that left the New Orleans community mourning. The FBI is investigating this incident as an act of terrorism. Well, that pretty much confirms the first thing I showed you. My thoughts are with the victims of this tragedy and their families. Okay, that sounds like thoughts and prayers, which is a no-no. I was told from the left. President Biden and I will continue to be briefed on the investigation, and our team remains in close contact with local officials. Any attack on any of our communities is reprehensible and unacceptable. Again, kind of the vein of my thoughts and prayers. But now let's go over here, because I thought this was an interesting post. So laws against theft, murder, terrorism, and the NFA failed to stop an ISIS terrorist using a suppressed rifle. Massive. ATF, FBI, and gun control failure. Now, a lot of people tagged me and a couple other people in there. And that's coming off of the suspect identified as that person. They say he was carrying a Glock and a .308 rifle that had been reported stolen in New Jersey. The .308 was equipped with optics and a suppressor. Now, again, if you are familiar with the fight of which we talk about all the time with our gun rights, a 308 rifle with the suppressor in New Jersey is pretty hard to come by. And if you're talking about something that was stolen, it circumvents all the gun control you would ever put out to the point where a terrorist could just steal something. Anyway, let's keep going. Again, not trying to make it too political. That's the original post, just so I have the verification for you guys. But this is the part where it kind of goes off the rails a little bit for me. Biden says nobody should jump to conclusions as investigation into New Orleans attack continues. Okay, so we have reports of an ISIS flag in the truck at the scene of a mass murder. We have the vice president who comes out and says the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of terrorism. And then we have the sitting president who says tonight, well, we shouldn't jump to conclusions. This is the same guy who every time that there's an instance that would politically benefit the leftists, particularly around the gun controllers, there is no waiting for anything. There is all the conclusions are jumped to. Everything becomes ban the guns now, universal background checks, Ethan's Law, insert law that we want for here. But when it comes to this, don't jump to conclusions. Now again, there's a lot to be discussed between here and there, all the information that's going to come out, but it's quite telling that when you're looking at this scenario and contrasting it to other scenarios, nobody should jump to conclusions is a little different. Let's just say it like that. Again, not trying to make it too political. President Joe Biden, in an address Wednesday night, said that no one should jump to conclusions and added that he is directing top law enforcement officials to continue to intensively investigate the attack itself. Biden said the suspect in the attack was an American citizen and former member of the military who posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, especially the desire to kill. A psychopath wanting to kill Americans utilizing our freedoms, which sounds an awful lot like a lot of things that we cover as well. However, the no jump to conclusions doesn't seem to be present when it's those types of scenarios. Again, I'm keeping it pretty vague because I want to be respectful to what happened. Now, Islamic State-inspired driver expressed desire to kill before deadly New Orleans rampage, Biden says. Again, we're going to kind of tie all this together, and this is the last piece of information that I wanted to bring forward that I thought was a pretty good cherry on top. A U.S. Army veteran driving a pickup truck that bore the flag of the Islamic State group wrought carnage on New Orleans' raucous New Year's celebration, unfortunately killing 15 people. You guys know that part. Let's keep going. President Joe Biden said Wednesday evening that the FBI found videos that the driver had posted to social media hours before the attack, which he said he was inspired by the ISIS. Again, don't jump to conclusions. You had the barricades down, failure after failure after failure after failure. It's a consistent theme. It's not our freedoms of driving cars. Anyway, let's keep going. Again, trying not to get there right immediately. The driver defeated safety measures in place to protect pedestrians and was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. Again, I want to jump over here where we've got the CNN piece, where they weren't up. There was no defeating anything. They just weren't deployed. Anyway, keep going back to the AP article. Quote, "We do not believe that this person was solely responsible," FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge Althea Duncan said at a news conference. So now we're going into the realm of sleeper cell, active threat, multiple people, independent little cell kind of vibe. So it's not only a lone wolf terrorist attack, now it's a potential sleeper cell terrorist attack using more of our freedoms to destroy us. This is becoming a quagmire. That's all I got on that one. But the big thing that I wanted to talk to you guys, and I'm not going to dive too deep into the chat on this. I'm going to scan it real quick. So we're in a scenario where this guy right here sees everything that we've got. The administration sees everything that we're looking at that I just showed you in a synchronized fashion, and says nobody should jump to conclusions. Again, I'd like to contrast any time there's another tragedy that happens in the United States utilizing another one of our freedoms, how we shouldn't jump to conclusions doesn't exist, and it's all conclusions instantly. That's all we know right this second, but I did want to highlight that juxtaposition, and then also we should probably just drop off again with Vice President Kamala Harris giving her thoughts and prayers, minus the prayers, just her thoughts. It's not a good look. It's not a good look at all, in my opinion. But I'll have more on this. I'll keep following it. If anything pops off that we need to know about, we'll probably see again from the 308, the suppressor and the Glock, but again, they're all stolen. So we'll see. And I hope that there's some measure of comfort that can be brought. I don't know what that would be to the families involved in this, but nobody should jump to conclusions seems a little bit in poor taste, in my opinion, particularly in light of past events. That's what I've got for you guys. I'll keep you updated, and I'll see you on the next one. Braden, out.